There's a science behind Awesomeness Fest. And the science determines how we construct the event, how we create the change. And when you understand the science, you can bring this back to your company, to yourself, to your family, if you're an educator, even to your schools. I want to explain that science because it's a really, really powerful model for human development. So, firstly, as I said before, Mindvalley's motto is simply, be extraordinary. It's about helping people grow into their best self, their grandest versions of themselves. Now, we publish tons and tons and tons of personal growth material, and we constantly ask ourselves, what is it that defines human beings? Right now, we work with maybe 100 authors on the Mindvalley Academy. But if I look at all the programs out there, all of them essentially fall into pretty much two different areas. And these two areas are what we call, combined, we call them consciousness engineering. If you can take these two areas and learn how to manipulate them, you can create amazing growth in anyone. So within our own team at Mindvalley, we constantly work with consciousness engineering. It's like an art to me. We put it within our company, we put it at Awesomeness Fest, we inject consciousness engineering into almost everything we do, and we're seeing incredible results. There have been situations where an intern who's 22 years old from a developing nation like Sudan has joined Mindvalley, and 4 years later, he's a best-selling author. At the age of 26, his name was Amir, his book got picked by Foreign Policy magazine as one of the must-read books of 2013. He's getting invited to be on Bill Maher, being invited to speak at universities like Harvard at the age of 26 because of rapid transformation that he goes through being part of this Mindvalley culture. Now, with Awesomeness Fest, we wanted to take this art form and bring it to you guys. But to understand how this works gives you even more power, because then when you go out of this event, you can apply the same models to, like I said, to your schools, your companies, your families. And it's really simple to understand. Basically, I'll explain it this way. Two things define you as a human being. These two things determine who you are now, they determine who you're going to be. But the cool thing is, both these things are highly swappable. Now, we don't just want to teach you a skill at Awesomeness Fest, we want to give you a tool so you can constantly grow. Buckminster Fuller, I'm a big fan of Bucky, said, if you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a tool, the use of which will lead to new ways of thinking. What I'm going to give you is that tool. Consciousness engineering allows you to think of yourself like, say, a computer. Computers have software and they have hardware. If your computer becomes obsolete, you simply swap out the hardware. You could swap out an old monitor, stick in a higher resolution monitor, swap out a smaller hard drive, stick in a higher powered hard drive. You could also constantly upgrade your software, hardware and software. Is there a hardware and a software to you, to the human being? Well, there is. Now, the hardware is what we call your models of reality. Your models of reality are really your belief systems. Your belief systems become you. Anyone read the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz? Amazing book, right? So in the book, Maxwell says, it is no exaggeration to say that every human being is being hypnotized to some extent, either by ideas he has uncritically accepted from others, or ideas he has repeated to himself or convinced himself to be true. Maxwell goes on to say that all of us, how we see the world, is no different from a patient who's just been hypnotized. We see the world through a lens based on our beliefs. But the funny thing is, these beliefs become true for us. So, for example, if you're a child and you are told as you're growing up that to be successful, you have to work hard, you might grow up your entire life believing that you have to work 8 to 10 hour days just to make ends meet. But of course, we know that this isn't true. Most beliefs that we take on are not taken on by rational choice. We take them on uncritically as children below the age of 7. In fact, most beliefs come in often from the ages of 0 to 2. So if you think about your models for the physical world, right? Things such as calories, things such as marriage, university education, the fact that you need to save up money till you can retire and then come visit exotic places like Mexico, or even religion. How many of these things are really true? In the words of Steve Jobs, all of these things were made up by people no smarter than you. And when you learn that you can question these things, that's when you can really, really, really do some epic things in the world. So, your models of reality define the space that you're playing with. Problem is, your models of reality are often bullshit. They don't belong there in the first place. How many of you here remember the day you chose your religion? Most of us did not get that luxury. Most of us had things such as religion implanted on us. But it's not just religion. It's everything. It's our beliefs on love. It's our beliefs on intuition. It's our beliefs on the way life works. So at Awesomeness Fest, we learn to question existing models, but we also look at new models. What might new models look like? Well, the idea that there's a flow state, that if you can learn to put yourself into the peak state of human existence, you can be ultra productive. Models such as all life form on Earth are connected. You can call this the Gaia hypothesis or anything you want, but the idea that all living beings are connected. Human intuition, Sonia Choquette will be talking about that. The idea that we can source ideas from out of space without any physical means of communication, and that inspiration and creativity can be turned on like a tap. Mind-body healing, that's what Renee spoke about. That by conscious practice of certain mindfulness or visualization practices, you could heal certain aspects of yourself. Self-directed learning, that perhaps university isn't really necessary, and there are better ways to become an educated human being. All of these are new models that you can attempt to absorb into your world. Some of these might create massive new leaps in the way you function as a human being. So it's constantly important to question and update your models, just like you regularly swap in and out the hardware in your computer. But there's a second piece, right? Systems for living. Systems for living, think of it as your software. This is what we do to just function as a human being. When you wake up in the morning and you put on that outfit that you wear to work, that's a system for living. When you commute, that's a system for living. The way you check your email, the way you eat, the restaurants that you eat at, the way you make love, the way you raise your kid are all systems for living. Problem is, a lot of these systems for living do not get updated. Can you imagine if you were still using Internet Explorer version 2 rather than the newest version of Chrome? Most of us never update our systems for living. Do you know that almost every year, philosophers, scientists, experts in different fields come up with new ways of exercise, new ways of parenting, new ways of mindfulness, new optimized ways to hack human happiness? But these things don't make it to the education system. In the 80s, there were maybe 4 or 5 studies that showed that meditation could create happiness. By 2014, the amount of studies that showed that had increased to 1,300. Yet how many schools teach meditation? So because our schooling system doesn't upgrade itself with our systems of living, and because systems of living tend to get passed on from parent to child, many of us live with outdated software. And that's another thing that we are trying to do here at Awesomeness Fest, to teach you new systems for living. So brushing your teeth, working out in the gym, counting calories, commute, are all systems for living. But just like models, you can have enhanced systems. Enhanced systems are systems that treat you more than just a body. They take account of the fact that you have a mind, that you have a soul, that you have spirit, that you are more than just a human body. And alternate systems might be meditation, the practice of gratitude, exercises on goal setting, such as the 3 most important questions, mindfulness practices. If you just take one of that, gratitude, and Rajesh is going to be talking about gratitude has been scientifically proven to cause less anxiety, help you sleep better, increase your lifespan, cause more feelings of connectedness, boost your productivity, raise your happiness levels. Yet how many of us have adopted gratitude as a daily practice? See, enhanced systems of living can create amazing boost in your functioning as a human being. Problem is, we aren't teaching it to the world yet. This is one of the reasons that A-Fest exists. It's one of the reasons I do what I do. It's one of the reasons Mindvalley exists. We're trying to upgrade the software that humanity uses to be human. Does this make sense to you guys? So we want to take you from that to this. Now, let me go deeper, right? Let's talk about models of reality and how we're going to be working on your models here at Awesomeness Fest. So first thing to know is that most of your models, most of your beliefs were not taken on by rational choice. They were implanted in you. There's an amazing study by a man called Paul Marsden. It's called Memetics and Social Conditioning. So Paul Marsden studied why human beings believe the things they believe. And what he found is this: the evidence shows that we inherit and transmit behaviors, emotions, beliefs, and religions not through rational choice, but through contagion. When we are unsure of how to react to a stimulus or situation, these theories suggest that we actively look to others for guidance and consciously imitate them. In other words, as human beings, we have a follow mechanism. We often follow blindly because it helps us make sense of the world. So when unsure how to react, we follow the people around us. This is how kids are trained. And so kids blindly follow their parents, who are blindly following their parents, who are blindly following the people who came before. And entire generations go by where people have not upgraded their models of reality. So let's take religion, for example. Religion is, to me, necessary for human evolution, but largely irrelevant to the world. Because often, because of bad dogma or practices that teach people guilt or alienation from other people of a different religion, religion often holds people back. And so one of the things that we try to do is teach people to transcend religion, to look at the common spiritual core that all religious practices have, to look at that core and see the unification between all religions, but to transcend the dogma. Dogma is our models of reality that often hold us back because we are told not to question them. Question that dogma. But the dogma isn't just in religion. The dogma is in how you function as a human being. If you look at corporate America, what are one of the cornerstones to how companies work? 9 to 5. But why do we have 9 to 5? Studies have shown that it makes absolute no bearing on productivity. Other studies have shown, Gallup, for example, found that the single biggest thing employees ask for is to break free from the 9 to 5. Flexi time is one of the single biggest determinants of employee happiness. And we know that happy employees create better work. So why do we have this 9 to 5 thing? So whether it's religion, or it's corporate America, or it's the food we eat, often we are blindly following models that make no sense. To be a hacker, to view the world as the way I view it so that you can rapidly improve your potential, is to question every model that society has imparted on you and to think about them rationally. So this is what started my age of questioning, right? So when I was 9 years old, I was raised as a Hindu. And I grew up in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. And at 9 years old, something happened that really caused me to re-examine my beliefs. Namely, the first McDonald's opened up in Kuala Lumpur. And I saw these advertisements for the cheeseburger. And then I found out that the cheeseburger was made with beef. Now, I was told as a Hindu that I couldn't eat beef. But I really wanted that Happy Meal. So this caused a cognitive dissonance, like, that burger looks so tasty, but I'm told I couldn't eat beef. Now, my parents were quite liberal. They encouraged me to question. I'm really grateful for that. My mom was a teacher, my dad was an entrepreneur, and they, even though they themselves did not eat beef, they encouraged me to question. So I asked my mom, Mom, why can't I eat beef? And she said, honestly, it's part of your culture, part of your religion. And I go, but why? What makes it so that me as a Hindu can't eat beef? And she goes, well, I don't know. Why don't you figure it out? Now, back then, the internet didn't exist, but I did have access to the Encyclopedia Britannica. So I poured through these encyclopedias. I tried to figure out what was it that made Hindus not be allowed to eat beef. Eventually, I came up with a theory, right? So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I figured this out. Apparently, the ancient Hindus, they loved having cows as pets because you could use cows for milk. You could use a cow to plow the field. Cows were cute. They had those big, beautiful eyes. So it may have been pretty silly to kill your cow and eat it when you could eat a goat or a pig or any other animal because cows were so damn useful. So could that be why we aren't allowed to eat beef? And since, Mom, last I checked, we have a dog, but not a cow, I think it should be okay for me to eat at McDonald's. And so my mom said, fine, and I got to taste my first beef burger. And boom, that first dogma, that first model of reality that I'd grown up blindly following was shattered. And then, with that victory, I started questioning everything else. By the time I was 19, I had discarded religion. Not discarded spirituality, mind you, but discarded religion. Because I wanted to embrace the core spiritual lessons of every religion. But I felt that calling myself a Hindu was actually separating myself from the other 5 billion people on the planet who were not Hindu. So I decided to simply call myself a human being and be a conscious spiritual human being, but abandoned religion completely. By the time I hit 30, I decided I don't give a damn about my nationality. I do a lot for Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I carry a Malaysian passport. But I believe that we should evolve into a one-world type nationality. I realized that even though I grew up in a family where, because we were an ethnic group in Malaysia, a very small ethnic group, in my family, you had to marry other people of your same ethnicity. And that ethnicity is a tiny group of people called Sindhis that come from Western India. But I decided, screw that. I remember watching Chris Rock make a joke on TV, black, white, yellow, it don't matter. We should all just each other till we're brown. And I thought, that's pretty awesome. I think that should be my belief. So I ended up marrying a white girl. So I started questioning everything about the way my culture, my tradition, my family had raised me. And I realized that, look, culture, religion, all of these things, they shouldn't be imposed on you. You should get to choose them. You should get to choose what you want to believe. You should open yourself up to all the cultures around the world and be able to take the best of every culture. You should embrace being human, but not be forced into any one box. So to this day, the way I run my company is very global. Like I said, we have 40 different passport holders at Mindvalley. The way we run Awesomeness Fest is very global. At our last event, again, 40 different countries. My daughter is learning 4 different languages. My son speaks 3 languages. They carry multiple passports from different countries, and they get to choose their religion. They get to embrace ideas from different religions. So my son will learn about Christ, but also learn about Buddha, but also learn about intuition, also watch Star Wars and learn about Jedi powers, and he gets to decide what he wants to be. I'm personally hoping he picks Jedi because it's so freaking cool. But ultimately, he gets to choose. See, why this is so important is because our internal models create our external reality. Science is telling us that what you believe to be true about the world becomes true for you. And this is why we cling so stubbornly to our beliefs. For example, there was a study that showed that a good hypnotist could hypnotize you to make you believe that you were on a beach under like a really warm sun, and your skin would actually tan because of that belief system implanted in you. Jose Silva took it a little bit further. Jose Silva wrote the book Silva Mind Control Method, amazing book. So he used to do an experiment where he would hypnotize someone, make them believe that the marker he was holding was a red-hot poker. He would put it on their skin, and because they believed it, when he pulled it away, a burn bubble would form. They would actually burn their skin. Now, they were under hypnosis. They did not feel pain, but still, he would demonstrate to the room that a burn bubble had formed. He would then take his hand, tell them that his hand was going to heal it, put his hand over it, remove his hand, and the burn bubble would disappear. Now, he found, for example, that the skin was one of the organ of our body that was most prone to beliefs, but in reality, it's every organ. You heard a bit of this earlier with Renee, able to defy doctors by causing her neurological condition to heal really rapidly by changing her belief system. She, at her core, believed that she could heal her paralysis in 6 months, and she kind of did. Beliefs influence your physical body. Now, the crazy thing about beliefs is how powerful subtle shifts in beliefs can be. There was another really famous study where a group of scientists were wondering, why is it that hotel maids in America tend to be unfit? Yet, if you actually look at the work they're doing, I mean, they're in this really physical fields. So they created a fake study. They went to this hotel, they interviewed the maids, and they got the maids to answer questions on, how many mattresses they were flipping around, how many stairs they were going up and down, the heavy vacuum cleaners they were hauling. And they told the maids that the whole point of the study was to optimize productivity in the hotel. Turns out that was a lie. It was a Trojan horse. What they really wanted to do was implant a new belief in the maid. And they did, and this is what they did. At the end of the study, they would turn to the maid and they would say, "My God, Matilda, do you realize that from what you're telling me, you're probably burning an extra 1,000 calories a day? You must be really fit." Now, they came back 30 days later, and they found that all the maids had not only lost weight, but their cholesterol count had gone down because of that one new belief injected in them. You must be really fit. So think about them. The next time you go to someone and you go, "Wow, you're looking much healthier than normal," or "You're looking really young." Those things really matter. We can consciously cause people to change not just their health, their weight, but even things that you normally don't think about, like your cholesterol count, with the simple insertion of a new belief. And also think about the damage you can do when a false belief goes into someone. When I learned this, one of the craziest things that I realized is just how much I may have been damaging my kids because of just little things I was unconsciously teaching them without realizing I was teaching them, such as finish all the food on your plate or you're going to be skinny. Think about how a kid might interpret something like that, right? Now, the thing is, your versions of reality don't just impact you, they impact other people. There was another famous study done called the 1968 Pygmalion Effect Experiment. Now, what they found is they took some school teachers and they told these teachers that they had tested all the kids in the class. And certain kids, let's call these kids like Bob, Bill, and Sally. These kids scored outside the normal range for IQ and intelligence, and that these kids were probably going to be the smartest, top-performing children in the class. Now, this was a new class, the teachers were new. And the teachers were told they could not reveal these to the kids. They could not in any way treat Bob, Bill, or Sally special. They couldn't tell them that these kids had been tested outside the norm. They were just told that those kids are kind of special. Turns out the teacher's expectation directly improved the results of the kid. And at the end of the school year, Bob, Bill, and Sally outperformed all the other kids. They were never told that they had been tested. In fact, there was no such test. Their names were picked at random. Your beliefs can influence other people. If you're a manager, you might be thinking, well, does the same thing apply to my team? Turned out it's true. They've studied managers. If you expect people on your team to behave in a certain way, they behave in that way. You expect someone in your team to be a top performer, turns out he's going to be a top performer. Your beliefs influence other people too. In short, what we are learning is that reality does not exist. You make it all up, all the time. So there are no excuses for the stuff that's holding you back. You are creating your own reality all the time. You're making all of this up. Models have a tendency sometimes to become Brules. What is a Brule? Rules are bullshit rules that we adopt to simplify our understanding of the world. So is what you believe really a rule, or is it a Brule? The distinction really, really, really matters. What are common rules? Common rules might be things such as the pursuit of money is inherently bad. I believed this for a while. It made getting rich really difficult because I believed somehow if you were rich, it meant you were going to lose your friends, that you didn't care about happiness or family, that the pursuit of money was inherently bad. I believed that aging is a part of life. Now I no longer believe that. I believe I'm going to live to be 200 and I'm always going to be healthy and young. I believed that love was bound to hurt. No longer believe that. I believe that success required hard work. So to be truly successful, to grow my company, I had to work at least 80-hour weeks. No longer believe that. I believe that you needed to be realistic in your goals because we've all heard of SMART goal setting, S-M-A-R-T, and the R in that thing stands for realistic. Turns out it's bullshit. Don't be realistic. It's for mediocre people. I believe religion was necessary for good moral conduct. No longer believe that. In fact, it seems that often the people doing the vilest things tend to be the people doing it in the name of God. How many of the things that you were trained to believe or your education system put in you or you are giving to your kids really, really, really are true? Or is it merely a Brule? Now, how do you identify Brules? Okay, so I tried looking at things and I figured out that there are 5 ways you could figure out if your belief was a Brule or really a rule. First one is your belief based on the idea that human beings are primarily good or that human beings are liars, cheaters, and cannot be trusted? Second, is the belief serving your happiness? So I remember teaching a class once, and there was a CEO who came to me, and he was mega successful, amazingly good-looking, charismatic Irish guy, but he said he had this belief that he was a sinner, and so he could never truly love himself, and I'd given a speech on self-love. And I told him but what makes you believe sin is real? And he goes, I know it's not real. I know it's just made up from the Middle Ages, but it's so ingrained in me, I can't release it. So you want to ask yourself, am I believing something that's really serving my happiness? Or is it making me miserable? If so, feel free to discard it. Third, does it align with the golden rule? Does this belief make you want to do unto others as you would want others to do unto you? 4th, is it solely cultural or religious? Do you have a belief that that the majority of human beings in the world were not born with? Do you perhaps believe in a particular way of life or particular way of dressing? If so, it's probably cultural or religious. And if it bothers you, you don't have to follow it. Just like I decided that I'm going to bloody well enjoy steak and beef burgers. Finally, is it rational choice or is it social conditioning? Are you doing it because it was conditioned into you, injected into you, implanted into you? Or did you think about it and then decide that this was the best way of operating and creating the life that you want to lead? Beliefs that fail this test are usually Brules. They are unnecessary. You are following them because of memetics and social conditioning. Lose them, because there's a good chance it's probably holding you back. And if you don't lose them, you risk passing them on to your kids and then screwing up the next generation. Bad beliefs need to die. And there's no reason to continue imparting them from generation to generation to generation in the name of religion or culture or national identity. See, outside the rules of physics and the rules of law, all other rules are illusions that we have chosen to believe. Your job as a free-thinking human being is to smash the ones that no longer serve you. So let's talk about bringing these ideas to A-Fest, right? So at Awesomeness Fest, you will hear about new beliefs that you can choose to adopt. Remember, beliefs are like hardware. You can swap one out, swap one in. Do you believe that the mind can influence healing? Well, hopefully, from listening to Renee's speech, that might have strengthened that belief a bit. Now remember, beliefs are just one thing, right? The second thing that we're going to help you hack are your systems for living. So let's talk about systems. Systems for living are the things that you do to function on a daily basis. You were taught these things as a kid. So you start your systems for living as soon as you wake up in the morning. You go, hello world, and you're ready to start your day. Now I want to try an experiment with you. I want all of you, some of you have done this before, so just play along. But for most of you, it's new. Just raise your right hand. Now place that hand on the person on your right. Now what I want you to do is to gently lean in, flick back their hair, and just smell their neck. Just take that in. Go ahead. And if it makes you feel awkward, remember this helps you bond. So tell me, people, what did you smell? You smelled awesomeness. I want to buy that fragrance. What else? Sweetness. What else did you smell? Say that again. Fragrance. Cool. So you guys all smell probably like positive, lovely things because almost all of you woke up this morning, showered, sprayed on cologne or perfume or Axe deodorant, and like altered the natural smells of your body. But 200 years ago, if you were doing this exercise, all of you would stink. Because 200 years ago, even in the Western world, people did not have the luxury of being able to shower every single day or slap on expensive cologne. You see, we created a whole new system to evolve the way we function with our physical self. The problem is our physical evolution has gone way ahead of our spiritual evolution. So while we wake up in the morning and we shower and we shave and we spray on cologne, millions of people still wake up every morning feeling feelings of stress or anxiousness or worry, and they do nothing about it, not realizing that these emotional states are also stuff that we should be cleaning. We wash our bodies, but we don't wash our minds. Yet, simple systems exist to help you do this. No one should be getting up feeling unhappy or stressful or anxious because science has shown so many different ways to simply fix these. These are systems. These are the systems that you want to bring into your life. So let's just look at systems for morning rituals, right? Systems so that you wake up with a spring in your step. You wake up feeling positive. Science has shown that meditation really helps with that. That creative visualization helps you have a more optimistic outlook. That intention setting helps you feel as if you can affect the things happening to you on a daily basis. Gratitude. I mentioned the scientific studies on this one of the surest ways to hack your happiness. Science has shown that people who practice gratitude after 30 days, 25% happier than people who do not. You don't learn about these things because, of course, instead you learn about Prozac and drugs to suppress anxiousness. Because pharmaceutical lobby, massive. Gratitude lobby, not so big. The thing is, all of these systems are stuff that you can train yourself, you can train your kids, and these systems magnify your potential as a human being. So you constantly want to examine, upgrade the systems. You want to remember that you are more than just a physical body, that you have a mind, you have a soul, you have a consciousness, and there are systems for all of these things. So models and systems. When you understand these two things, we've just given you the keys to hacking, unlocking your potential as a human being, to being able to examine what aspects of you need to swap in, swap out, how to upgrade your hardware, and how to click update on your software as well. So you're constantly getting better and better and better at what you do. But the one thing I want to be very clear about is the beauty of A-Fest is that many of the best systems, the best models you learn here will not come from the people on stage. They will come from the friends that you make in this room. Just this morning for breakfast, I was talking with an A-Fester, Adil, and it was supposed to be a short conversation. We ended up speaking for 3 hours. He was teaching me systems for living and new models of the world that he was using, and it was just mind-blowing. I had the education of my life here at breakfast at A-Fest. It's going to be the same with you. So every breakfast, every lunch, every dinner, every party, you're probably going to connect with people. And because this is a curated tribe, everyone here has something to teach each other. So some of your greatest learnings are really going to come from the person on your left and your right, from the people whose necks you just sniffed. Thank you.